Alrighty. Oh, this? You probably want an explanation for this. You might be saying to yourself, Jamie, what in God's name are you doing? Halloween was like a month ago. And you're correct. I only just now read Harrow the Ninth. I almost said Gideon. Harrow the Ninth. And I thought the only way I could do her justice was by putting on the paint. I think you can hear my Sprite cranberry. Ooh. But then I remembered I'm absolutely terrible at face paint, so I'm doing this for you guys. Hi, my name is Jamie. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a book reaction, a reading reaction video, because this isn't really a review. It also isn't like a rant or anything. It's more just me talking about the book that I read, because I was gonna say I have thoughts, but I don't really have thoughts. I don't think I understood the book. All right, for those of you who are new here, let's do a little bit of a recap. This is Harrow the Ninth by Tamsin Muir. I have a previous video a few months ago about Gideon the Ninth, the first book of the series. So the plot of the first book is that Harrow and Gideon are two girls from this sci-fi fantasy necromancy planet. In this world, there are 8 planets numbered 2 through 9. 9 is obviously the farthest away from the sun. It's a very dark, damp, gross planet, and the necromancy there is based around bone magic, like bone witches. That's what Harrow is. So she manipulates bone matter. And the 9th house is in charge of protecting the locked tomb, which holds the thing that will eventually kill the Emperor. The Emperor at the start of Gideon the Ninth has invited all of the necromancers of the ruling houses and their cavaliers. Gideon, who is not trained as a cavalier, has to pretend to be one for Harrow, and they have to work their way into solving the mysteries of becoming a lictor. Lictors are the saints of the Emperor. It's basically being granted sainthood and ultimate power and immortality. Spoilers, but at the end of Gideon the Ninth, Gideon throws herself on a spike. Yeah, a spike in order to save Harrow, let Harrow ascend to lictorhood and get the power in order to kill the thing that's attacking them. My face is so itchy. So you can watch my first video on Gideon the Ninth to see kind of my thoughts on it, what I liked, what I didn't like, some things I found annoying, some things I thought were really well done, some of the lore behind the book and the author and its connection to a particularly infamous fandom. It's a really fun video. Harrow the Ninth was a lot more difficult for me to read, and I don't exactly know why. I didn't really write any of my thoughts down, so this is going to be a very disjointed video. I really am just trying to talk my thoughts out because I am not very sure what went wrong with my reading of this book. I don't know what was not working for me or what was just not done correctly. I really was excited for this book because Harrow was my probably 3rd favorite character. Obviously, Gideon was my favorite. She was very funny. She was a great narrator, not only because she was super humorous, but also because she's the fish out of water and a lot of things needed to be explained to her. Really great perspective character, or a really great narrative character. There is so much cat hair floating around right now. I would say tied for 2nd place would be Palamedes and Camilla, because they're kind of, first of all, they're kind of joined together. But also, I don't know, something about Pal and his relationship with Camilla, it just, It made me smile. I really liked it. I wish we had seen more of Pal in the first book, especially more in the second book. And then I think my third favorite character would be Harrow. I really enjoyed her. I really enjoyed her relationship dynamic with Gideon. I even wanted more of Harrow in the Gideon the Ninth book. So when I started reading a book that's kind of in her perspective and all about her, I was super excited. I was hyped. I was so excited to read all about Harrow the Ninth and see what was going on with this. And I don't know, something about it didn't hit right with me. I think a big thing to point out with this book is that at least in about half of the chapters, it is written in second person point of view, which is uncommon and unfamiliar to many readers. A lot of times the only way you see it in a traditionally published book is in like choose your own adventures. I thought it wasn't going to be a big deal for me because I was an avid reader of Homestuck, and all of Homestuck is in second person point of view, often second person omniscient. Second person point of view wasn't what was unusual or awkward for me. It was more the language that was used. It's not that different from the Gideon the Ninth language, and that was there were times where like some of the sentences were tripping me up because they are just shoving a bunch of big words or like funny sounding words, very studious, $5 words next to very crude 4-letter words, things like that. And so there were some parts in Gideon the Ninth that really tripped me up, but this book was just really difficult to get through, just like the verbiage that was used. Are these words, like obviously I'm not reading dictionaries or thesauruses. They probably could be words or they're just different versions of words that I'm familiar with. But at a certain point I was wondering, like, are these just mashups of words? I didn't tab anything in this book. I should have. But I don't have any like specific examples of these words, but a lot of them just felt like they were made up, like they were almost a word. And if that was done intentionally, I do understand the merit of that to kind of throw the reader off their rhythm. But if it was just done to be funny or because it was silly to have made up words, I don't know, that it really tripped me up. It made it a lot harder for me to read. It also made it a lot longer. Like I had to keep rereading passages because I just couldn't figure out what was being said. It became very clear what was going on very early on, as soon as we were doing flashbacks of the events of the first book, or like the settings of the first book, but with alternative events and an alternate character. I completely knew what was going on, which is good. I'm not saying it was bad. I'm not saying it was a bad twist or anything. I'm not saying the lead up to it. Like you're supposed to see that and immediately go, what happened? Where is Gideon? Like what's going on? I'm just gonna have to get into spoilers. Okay, so here's your warning, I guess. So the whole thing is that Harrow, when it's not the like second person present chapters, the chapters that are happening in the present, Harrow will like get knocked unconscious or whatever, and then she is back at Canaan House or however you want to say it. It's alternative events, so it's not Gideon with her, it's her old cavalier Ortis, and you're like, that's not how that happened. And it's very obvious that like something's going on with memories, whether she's suppressing them herself or somebody else is. It's a very good setup and payoff when it finally cracks and the whole mystery is like revealed. Very well done. Because I fully believed that what's his name, the Saint of Duty's name was Ortis the whole time. A couple people would question it and they'd be like, what you called him Ortis? That's like kind of weird, right? So they questioned it, and I knew something was up with his name, but it didn't occur to me that his name was also Gideon until he said his initials, and I was like, so that was a good twist. And then there were a couple other like really good twists that blew my lid. It really was well done. Setups and payoffs. The twists were great. And I really was here for the mystery. As soon as I understood what was going on, I was like, this is great. It's a nice slow burn mystery where we know something's going on with Harrow, but we don't know exactly what, and we also don't know how it's going to be resolved. So the whole mystery, a part of the plot twist is resolving it, which is great. Loved it. I love the alternative histories. I loved seeing more of Abigail and Magnus. And I loved how they were like ghosts. Like it wasn't just her imagination, like they were actual spirits. It was all really well done. What really got me, I guess, is because I knew that something was up with Gideon and Gideon's death. And because we were already seeing characters that had died previously coming back as ghosts, I was just waiting for the other shoe to drop. You know, I was just waiting for Gideon to come back. And she does not come back until the final, like, less than 150 pages. Less than 150 pages, and Gideon is in the story again. Very final edge of the book. Like, it's almost it is 500 pages, and she is not seen or mentioned until then. So it really got annoying when all of these clues of like, oh, something's up, oh my god, you know, somebody's not remembering things correctly, or this isn't how it happened. That's something that they keep repeating in Harrow's memories of the Cannon house. Somebody will turn to her and go, is this really how it happened? That was cool, but like it kept going on and on. And I guess I wanted the payoff to happen a little bit sooner, or to maybe have the book be a little bit smaller. I don't know why I wanted that, but I just did. You know, for me, it just got a little bit boring. I was kind of just waiting for Gideon to come back because I knew she was. I do wish that Palamedes and Camilla were used more. I guess it's gonna happen in the third book. I mean, you can't really expect everybody to come back and be perfectly used. I don't feel like a lot of the characters were used as well as they were in the last book. In my last video, I talked about how all of the characters were used well. I was never bored by a character, and yes, some of the characters were used less, but they were all like used in a way that was interesting. They all had fleshed out histories, or at least it seemed like there was a history behind the character. This book feels like there is a big cast, and it's actually, I think, less people than the last book. It just doesn't feel like they were all used. Definitely didn't feel like they all had weight behind them, or like weight to their character arcs. I don't feel like you could remove them entirely from the book. Well, the Lieutenant Dias, I think you could remove from the book. I don't know. I feel like some of the characters could definitely have been removed from the entire book without it being impacted too much. Some of the characters, they just felt boring. Some of the scenes I felt bored by. It got repetitive. I wanted to just move on. It really feels like the sequel slump, you know, where it's just like we're setting up everything for the third book. I really liked the mystery. I really liked how they were setting it up. I don't think I would change that, but I do think I would reduce and cut pages because it was really long, and I don't feel like we got enough information for what we were given. I also was just entirely confused by a lot of things, especially all of the reveals at the end, because they kind of just come at you. They're just hitting you one after the other with a reveal and a person and a reveal and a person, and then they're just talking about things, and then an action happens, and then they're just talking about things and explaining why they did the action and things like that. And it was like, I feel like some of the books, those things were done better in the first book and done less good in this book, and I don't know why. Gideon's parentage reveal was a bit confusing. That's one of the things that mainly confused me. Like, obviously, John Gaius, which I love that his name is John. I love it. It's such a mundane name. Like, almost everybody is named John. Even if you don't think your name is John, your name is probably John. I also think it has ties to the Homestuck thing, but I'm not gonna say that because I don't think everything about this book should be tied to Homestuck. But anyway, his name is John. I think that's fun. God is just named John. That's cool. The Emperor is trying to explain things, and he had a cavalier named A.L. Electo, I think, was her name, but also he called her Annabelle Lee. I think that was just a nickname or like a code name, but I think her name is Electo. John combined his cavalier with him, but like in a way where she could still survive. Interesting. The other lictors and saints are like upset by that because they had to grieve the losses of their cavaliers in order to attain lictorhood. And the God didn't have to do that. He didn't have to say goodbye to the person he loved. But we don't know where she is anymore. So Gideon has these like golden eyes. I don't really remember Gideon having golden eyes, but it's also been a while since I read Gideon the Ninth. But anyway, Gideon has these golden eyes, and everyone's like, oh, and they obviously know what's going on and we don't, so they're explaining it to us. They reveal that the emperor, somehow attained his power by not having to kill his cavalier, but their eyes still swapped, so he has his cavalier's eyes. So then the person who has his eyes was the one that gave the genetic seed to Gideon is God's daughter. That's what I'm trying to say. God has a daughter, and that daughter is Gideon, and he didn't know about it. She obviously didn't know about it, but the mom, the person who carried the baby and also used their own genetic material was the saint that had taken over Dulcinea. I forget. Oh, her name is no, it wasn't even her. It started with a C. She was the one that took over Dulcinea's body. It wasn't even her. It was somebody else who was taking over her body called Wake, which came out of nowhere. And there's like a couple different jokes about her name. I'll get to the jokes in a second. Anyway, but her name is Wake. And Wake is the one that carried Gideon and used her genetic material. And she was working with the other lictors, but they also are mortal enemies because she's part of Blood of Eden, which is the anti-emperor, anti-necromancer emperor thing. So they're working with Blood of Eden, but she's also working with the lictors, and she had an affair with the Saint of Duty named Gideon. And so then she went to the Ninth carrying a baby that they both thought was Gideon's son. It was her baby, and Gideon, the Saint Gideon Prime. There are a lot of jokes about his name too, but they thought it was that baby. Obviously, Gideon was left there on the Ninth. She grew up to be Gideon the Ninth, the whole thing. But then it's revealed that the genetic material was actually somehow John's, the Emperor's. But now I'm trying to remember. They don't say it outright, but I think the way they collected it was a threesome. I guess when you're immortal with just a bunch of different people, stuff happens. I think I've just talked myself into understanding the thing, but also I'm very deeply confused. I don't know who Wake is or where she came from, but she was the mother that Gideon talked about, that screamed Gideon. Like, that was her, I think it was her ghost screamed the name Gideon, and that's why Gideon is named the way she is. I don't remember what happened at the end. I really don't. Oh, Gideon the Saint of Duty, takes Gideon the Ninth's glasses in order to conceal the fact that Gideon, the Saint of Duty, has passed and that his cavalier has fully taken over his body and has the eyes. Wait a minute. Wouldn't he already have her eyes? No. No, I think if they have... No, they switch. It's like switching, right? Because Ianthe's eyes change color. They're like purple and brown, but they like change. They it's like a kaleidoscope, right? Like purple, blue, and brown, right? I think. But everyone else, did theirs also, were they at Kaleidoscope Eyes? Is that why? I'm confused. I think I might have to watch some like theory videos in order to understand it, because I really did not understand what was going on in that last chunk of the book. I was bored. No, I wasn't bored. There were parts of the first part of the book that made me bored and I feel like could have been cut. And then the last chunk of the book, I was just very confused. I really liked how Gideon was taking over Harrow's body. At that point, I was back into the narrative like strut that Gideon has. It's so much easier to read than Harrow's, even though it's like it was Gideon narrating, but it was like Harrow's thoughts, I guess. I don't know. Gideon has just a more fun, upbeat, enthusiastic narration, and you could definitely tell, like, yeah, Gideon was narrating Harrow's actions and whatnot, but once Gideon was the one in charge of the body and stuff, you could tell the difference, and I really liked that. It was fun. I liked the dream sequences. I liked seeing Pal. I like him. I was so upset when he died, and I wish that he hadn't, but I'm glad that his ghost remained and that Camilla's still out there, because her end was kind of ambiguous, so I'm glad she's still out there and that she is still, you know, working with Pal as much as she can. Love it. Love their relationship. It makes me giggle. Loved seeing Abigail and Magnus. I think I already said that, but I loved seeing Abigail and Magnus's relationship a little bit more. Very cute. Liked seeing more of Ortis Ninengard, whatever it is. He was a good character. Really liked the Matthias Nonius thing. Loved that part. I thought that was cool. And I loved all the Cavaliers going to fight with him. Great. Also ambiguous ends. I'm assuming they all died, but whatever. I said I was going to get into the jokes and stuff. In Gideon the Ninth, the jarring humor really worked. It really worked with Gideon the Ninth. The Tumblr memes, the references, the weird, very mundane humor. I loved it. The sex jokes, it worked. It worked really well. And when they dropped a reference to a meme, it was great. I loved it. Very fun. I had a fun time reading that book because of those. I loved the humor in it. There was less of that in this book. I'm assuming because it was Harrow's narration, technically Harrow's narration, but that meant that if there was a meme, it was very sparse to begin with, but it was also specifically said by a couple people. So like God, like the Emperor God was the one that was dropping the references to memes or like saying just like random funny things, which is funny. I like the idea of it, of like this all-powerful 10,000-year-old being dropping Tumblr refs. Very, very fun, but because it was so sparse, unlike Gideon the Ninth, it just kind of came out of nowhere. And some of them, I don't know if they were just more cringe or if they just weren't good, but yeah, I didn't like some of them. Some of them just felt out of place and wrong, and like they shouldn't have been used. They shouldn't have been in the book. For example, Wake, the Blood of Eden soldier thing that's working against God, is there. Her name is Wake. Obviously that's weird, and at one point she was like, use my full name, and he makes a reference to some modern day thing. At another point, I forget what the first reference was. Oh wait, no, it was like Wake something or other, oops, there goes gravity, right, which is the Eminem song. And then at one point he's like, hello, this is Wake Me Up Inside, the Evanescence song, which just felt out of place and wrong. Not out of place in a jarring, fun way, just like kind of like, we're in a very serious situation here, what are you doing? Like, I guess it shows that he has the same personality as Gideon. That's the only way I could think of that. I mean, he wasn't the only one. Obviously, once Gideon was back in the body, she was saying a bunch of fun things. Ianthe said things. Magnus had a very charming personality. He would also say things, you know, funny references, jokes, whatnot. Now that I know Gideon is coming back, even though it feels like it took forever for that to be revealed, I definitely will read Nona the Ninth. I just picked it up from the store, but I don't know, something about the book just kind of lost its magic for me. I wonder if I should just reread Gideon the Ninth and see if like maybe I just forgot a lot of the ending scene of Gideon, and I needed to just freshen up on that stuff before starting this one. But I don't know, I just feel like a lot of it didn't make sense. I liked the mystery. I keep saying that. I really did like the mystery, and I'm not trying to say that the mystery didn't make sense. It was really the reveals that didn't make sense, and I don't know why. And then I don't really feel like there's anything other to talk about than the mystery and reveals. I mean, yeah, some of the relationship dynamics were cute, saying Magnus and Abigail. Harrow and the Anthe kind of being a fun thing. Gideon and Harrow, when Gideon talks to Ianthe about her relationship with Harrow and how like protective and sad and mad that Gideon is, it's like, oh, my little heart, Gideon loves her, but also like it's not like it's like weird love. It's like it's complicated, and I like that. So getting to see that kind of more the understanding of Gideon and Harrow's more positive relationship, because we only really saw that towards the end of the last book. I liked seeing that. I liked the relationship with the saints and God, and how, you know, they just have a threesome right there, and Harrow is just so freaked out by any like intimacy that she sees that and she's like, what? She like does not like it. I thought that was very funny. It was really nice. Not nice as in like, I don't know, it was fun. It was a fun little added detail. I liked how Harrow is so out of place with like flavor and soup and and like tea and cookies. Like she does not understand them. So that was interesting to see. Really cool dynamics. I mean, I'm struggling to think of things to say, because I mean, it was either just Harrow fucking around with the people, trying not to die. Oh yeah, that's the other thing, is the Saint of Duty is trying to kill her. I guess he can tell what Gideon's inside of her and whatnot. And the Saint of Duty is trying to like also protect her, saying like, I don't want to be the one to do this, but like I'm gonna try and kill you. It's compulsive at this point. Like I can't stop myself. I don't know if he was being controlled by somebody or not. Another thing with the Saint of Duty is that Harrow like catches him with the corpse of the one lictor, like catches him in the act, if you know what I'm saying. And she brings it to people's attention, and they're like, that doesn't really sound like him. But it doesn't really come up again. So was he actually doing that with her? With the corpse? Or was it... See, I'm just making myself more confused. I really don't know. I don't know what's going on anymore, you know? So yeah, it was just Harrow Hark fucking around in the spaceship while they're trying to prepare for the resurrection beast that's supposed to like try and kill God, but it doesn't end up killing God. Oops, spoilers alert. Or she's unconscious and having alternative memories of stuff we've already seen. I don't really know if I understood the book. I definitely will read the next book now that we have some answers. I want to see where the story goes, but I think this book just had too many unanswered questions for too long. If we had gotten maybe some clues to Gideon's parentage beforehand, saying something about like God's eye color. I mean, they talk about his weird eyes all the time, but like talking about what his eye color used to be, because it kind of does end up being like, oh, this girl sitting right here having Harrow Hark's body but Gideon's eyes, those eyes belong to you. And I was like, well, I didn't know that. I didn't know what color his eyes were like 10,000 years ago. Like having more clues to Gideon's parentage before the reveal happened, because it does kind of come out of nowhere. Not just the actual reveal, but just talking about it just kind of feel stilted and put in there in a way that could have happened more organically. I think that's going to be it for me. I don't know if I will think of anything else to say. I'm really just baffled by this book. So yeah. Oh, I forgot to say the rating. I think I rated this like 3 stars, 3.25, something like that, where I didn't enjoy it as much as the last one. It's just kind of setting things up, revealing things so that you can actually utilize them in the third book, which is not what a second book is supposed to do. You're supposed to have a story in the second book. I guess there is one. I don't know. Not my favorite. Let's see if Nona the Ninth is better. I've heard Nona is the one that everyone loved. Like, everyone thought it was amazing. Anyway, that's going to be it for me. Let me know what your thoughts on Harrow the Ninth were. Let me know when you guessed the Gideon reveal. Either one of them. And then give me some thoughts on your favorite ship in the book. Who do you like more? Harrow and Ianthe or Gideon and Harrow? Let me know down below. Okay, thank you for watching. Goodbye. I put on expired Ben Nye makeup for you. So, you guys better be grateful.